What's up, guys? Welcome back to the money class. Thanks for joining me. And of course, we'll be talking about money. That's a no surprise, right? But specifically, it's a very narrowed down, simple subject in this video that's going to make this a fast video. We're going to be talking about what the wealthy do with their money. Like, what do they use it for? What do they purchase? So, of course, they need the basics. They need clothes on their back, right? They need to eat, so of course you're going to feed themselves, clothe themselves. But what do they use all those millions and in some cases billions for? Well, some people think, they buy these big, extravagant homes. And in many cases, that's true. I mean, I'm talking big, stupid homes like this one that may have, 8, 9, 10 bedrooms, 5, 6, 7 bathrooms, 12,000 square feet sitting on massive parcels of land. They do in some cases go do that. They do in some cases go get extravagant vehicles, exotic cars, fancy sports cars, luxury cars. But that's not really what the wealthy do with their money. I'm not talking about the rich at this point. I'm talking about the wealthy. There was a movement several years ago referred to as FIRE. And no, I'm not talking about that kind of fire. But this movement of FIRE was started by a lot of younger millennial workers. So FIRE stood for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And what these workers would do is, many times they would start in their early 20s when they finished their education or just began into the workforce, and they would have a very aggressive savings and investing plan tied around their income, whatever they did for income, as far as their primary income, which was usually a payroll check from their job, and any additional income that may have come from other skills and things that they were able to do for money. So side hustles, second job, actual side business, whatever the case may be. And they would have that aggressive savings and investing plan that would allow them, in many cases, by their early 40s, to be able to walk away from their traditional job and be okay. Now, in many cases, these folks would live, like extremely lean, like very frugally to be able to make this happen, while some of their counterparts were out, buying the fancy car or getting a really expensive apartment or just spending their money frivolously. They would basically spend as if they didn't have anything, but they were looking long term. They were playing the long game. And the long game was they did not want to end up like a lot of their parents and grandparents, working until they're 65 and in some cases well beyond 65 years old to be able to make the ends meet. So that's what FIRE was. And that gave them the level of wealth that it would take to retire. So I'm a strong supporter of the FIRE movement. I wish it was around when I was 25 years old, but it was not. But I do believe in being able to have the choice to, quote unquote, retire as quickly as you can. Not necessarily stop doing anything, but stop being obligated to having to be bound to a schedule of 5 or 6 days a week for 40 or 50 hours or whatever your work schedule is. But circling back to the original question of what does the wealthy do with their money, they basically buy their time back, because that's what most of us, me, you, and lots of people that will watch this video, that's what we lack. We lack time. We're so busy working, chasing the next deal, chasing the next raise, chasing the next promotion, working our butts off to get it, 50, some cases 60 hours or more per week, that what you find is you don't have time for anything. You don't have time for things that you love, your family, the activities that you love to do. There's no time. You don't even have time for the things that you really need to do, like address your health, prepare the proper meals, to address your nutritional needs in the proper way. You just don't have time. So to me, what I've noticed about the wealthy, because I've been privileged enough to be in some rooms with some extremely wealthy people. I've even been able to meet a few billionaires over the course of my lifetime. And one of the biggest highlights to me was when I met a black billionaire, because there's not a ton of black billionaires. And this black billionaire was not an athlete. He was not an entertainer. He was actually in the legal field, and he just worked his way up, and he was as down to earth as anyone that you would ever meet. And I asked him, what did that wealth do for you more than anything else? And he said, it bought me my time, because he was actually speaking at an event that I attended on a volunteer basis. He volunteered to speak at this event, no fee required, because he really didn't need to charge a fee. Even though he could, he didn't have to, because of the wealth that he had attained. So just something I thought you should think about. With the wealth that you're trying to build, are you looking to get your time back? Because that is the thing that most of us do not have, is time. Okay? So that's it for today's money class, guys. I know that's a subject that's not touched on much, but I felt it needs to be talked about. That's it. Class dismissed.